juiced up edition of Coffee with the Crew here on Crusaders TV, and now wherever you get your ear candy as well. We're flipping it into podcast form for you so you can take the crew wherever you go on your adventures. And we'll pick things up in, about the 6th, 7th week of regular season action here in the spring. 20 degrees yesterday, and yet we still had Saturday night hockey as part of a doubleheader between the Sherwood Park Crusaders and the Brooks Bandits. Now, this had been the marquee matchup in the Alberta Junior League that really never came to fruition. Over the last couple of years, of course, you Crusaders fans will know the pedigree of your team and what it was expected in terms of reaching the heights of the North Division and perhaps challenging your Spruce Grove Saints, your Fort McMurray Oil Barons, your Bonnyville Pontiacs for a title, and ultimately sitting atop things last year when the playoffs got called off. We wondered whether we would see the matchup between the South dominant team, the Western Canadian champions of 2019, of 2015, I believe, as well for Brooks, the class of the league, if I may say so. So when you come into a weekend like that, that's really the litmus test for a team. And this year's edition of the Crusaders, of course, a lot different than the edition of the Crusaders with those who are now sort of lionized in Crusaders lore, your Michael Bennings, your Carter Savoys, your Carter Guylanders, etc., who have graduated on from the program. So what would this weekend have in store? Well, it started on Friday night. And by the way, short notice for these games to creep up. It was about midweek when we found out as an organization that the cohort situation at the Alberta Junior League level had changed with some positive tests in the Camrose Kodiak system. That's who was originally going to play Sherwood Park over the next couple of weekends. But instead, they took the last couple of healthy teams that didn't have an opponent and said, well, forget it. North Division versus South Division. Let's do it. So the marquee matchup, puck drops on Friday night at the Randy Rosen rink at the Sherwood Park Arena. And for the first 35 minutes or so of the game, Sherwood Park absolutely holding their own against a team with 16 NCAA Division I commitments. Brooks is the powerhouse. Brooks is a place where people from not only all over Alberta, but all over Canada, all over North America really come to play. This is where they come to exercise their skills, so to speak, in a season where things are obviously a lot different. So for the first 35 minutes of Friday night's game, Sherwood Park did an absolutely phenomenal job of hanging around there. And the final 5 minutes of the second period is where things started to fall apart. And if you reference back, it was essentially 3 goals in about 1 minute and 33 seconds. And that blew it open to a 5-2 Brooks lead. And the third period continued unfolding in a Brooks manner. And speaking with head coach Adam Mana, actually, over the weekend, he said to his group at that point, at the second intermission, when they were down 5-2, listen, if you think Brooks is going to take their foot off the gas pedal right now, you've got another thing coming. And sure enough, the Bandits went on to pile another 4 goals into the net and really shake the scoreline to something a little more lopsided than perhaps was actually indicative of how the game had been played. Saturday, a completely different story. Sherwood Park answering the bell, 3-3. They actually had the lead on Ty Mueller's 8th of the season in what was a crazy second period, a parade to the penalty box. The Crusaders functioning on 6 consecutive man advantages and able to capitalize only on 1. So you got a team like Brooks and their special teams coming into this weekend were functioning with a penalty kill that had knocked off 33 of 36 attempts for the opponents. That was a 92% clip. They went on to kill 10 of 11 on Saturday's game. So we mentioned this with Blake Sydlowski coming up here. We'll chat with him. We'll chat with Brenden McCartney as well as part of this expanded Coffee with the Crew feature. But it was quite remarkable on Saturday to see such a parade to the penalty box. But Brooks they flexed the penalty killing muscle that was evident in the stats, and then we got to see it in the flesh as they did a job. So without further ado, we had a couple of losses, albeit hard-fought ones for Sherwood Park. Let's see what the players had to think of that as we throw it off first to Blake Sydlowski on Coffee with the Crew. All right, joined here on Coffee with the Crew by Blake Sydlowski after a pair of losses on home ice to the Brooks Bandits. Blake, obviously, things on Friday night, the 9-3 loss going quite a bit differently than Saturday's 4-3 overtime loss. So let's rewind it to the beginning of the weekend. You guys know you've got a 9-1 Brooks Bandits team coming in. I know that you're awfully familiar with the power and the offense that this team is capable of. So what was sort of the message from the coaching staff to you guys heading into this weekend action?
Yeah, anytime the Brooks Bandits come in 10, it's going to be a tough game. And Adam and Jeff were just stressing how mentally tough we needed to be in both those games. And that's something that I think we're going to need to just clean up a little bit here in practice this week to be right there with them next weekend. But overall, after the way the game ended on Friday night and the score was the way it was, I'm really proud of the way our group came out and responded and kept the game tight last night. Even though we didn't get both points, we came out with one, and it was a good effort all around, I thought.
And you got the sense even in that Friday game that it wasn't necessarily a 9-3 scoreline. They had a couple of spurts of, 3 goals in like a minute and a half kind of a thing to really tilt the scales, so to speak. But, just a thought from you. You had Cherpack battling and a younger group really against a team that I think has 18 NCAA commits. And this is the measuring stick, as we know, over the last couple of years. How do you stack up against a team like Brooks? So overall, what do you think of the assessment, of some of the younger guys and how they turned out this weekend?
Yeah, I think in the first game, definitely you could see there was some nerves, and that just comes with the territory of playing good teams, I think. And I think everyone did really well. It's just a matter of not sitting back and giving back a little bit and pushing back, and that's what we were stressing in the room a little bit between periods and stuff like that. But no, I think everyone played well and everyone handled it well. But it's something that we're all still learning and trying to. All us older guys are trying to help the young guys with and stuff. So, but overall, I think it was not too bad.
How have you found your role in that leadership sense this year as definitely one of the veteran, most experienced Crusaders on this team?
Yeah, it's been good. I'm just trying to be a vocal guy in the room, and help the younger guys. I always want to see guys doing well. And I remember what it was like being a rookie and how tough it can be. So I just want to make it as easy as possible for some of these guys and help them to succeed.
So Saturday, your rookie goaltender, Lachlan Gordon, steps in and faces a career high in shots against and really held you guys in there 3-3 after Raji's, Raji opened the scoring for you guys on Saturday. It was Mueller that ended up tying the game. And then the overtime loss shortly there follows after. But you guys had an excellent response on that in that second game, and your goaltender, I think, did a lot to hold you in that. Did you guys have that same assessment?
Oh, for sure. I think Gordo played unreal yesterday, and it's a extra motivation always knowing when you got a younger guy in there too, and playing in one of his first games, you want to play hard for him and get him a win. So, yeah, I think it was really good, and Cherry, give him a lot of credit too. Played a really good game in the first game, despite the score. I think in the first half of the game, he was keeping us in there pretty good. So I think both our goalies this weekend played really good.
One of the stories of Saturday's game was special teams action. I don't think I've ever seen as many penalties called in a game that wasn't necessarily that scrappy per se. It was just a lot of, interference calls and holding and that sort of stuff. And you guys had, I believe, like 11 power play opportunities on Saturday. But Brooks does something really aggressive, it seems, with their penalty kill. I'm wondering if you can sort of assess what they do that makes them so successful. They came into last night's game at like a 92% clip, and I think it went up.
Yeah, I think they play a really aggressive kill, and that, I guess, it kind of throws you off a bit sometimes when you're used to teams kind of sitting back a little bit. But that's just something that we're going to have to adjust on and learn from and be able to build off of going into next weekend to try to get some goals here off the power play a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I think like we got a few big goals on our special teams this weekend too that we can build off of going into next weekend.
What else would you guys like to work on in practice heading into next weekend's game? And, do you approach those road games a little bit differently than you would the two at home?
Yeah, for sure. Going in on the road, it's always different. And it's especially with these no fans, it's really big getting energy up on the bench, and our communication out on the ice has to be pretty sharp and stuff. So that's definitely something we're going to have to work on in practice this week, just talking out there and getting comfortable and everything. But overall, I think we'll be just fine.
All right, joined now on Coffee with the Crew by Brenden McCartney. Didn't factor into Friday's game, drew into Saturday's lineup, and it was definitely a tale of two different games. So let's gloss over what you might have saw on Friday in that 9-3 defeat. And I know that you guys had to have been excited to play somebody other than Bonnyville. Now, Brooks is an awfully tough test, and I don't think you had the chance to play them up until this point. So what was sort of the messaging and the feeling heading into this series, knowing that it was a new opponent and a tough one at that?
Yeah, I mean, like Brooks, I mean, everybody in Canada kind of knows who they are. And I mean, there's a lot of hype around the team. So, I mean, going into it, I think everybody's excited because, yeah, I mean, for one, we get to switch up the opponent that we obviously played Bonnyville before, but we get to switch up the opponent and play Brooks. I mean, it's a big deal. And we didn't think we were going to get them this year just because they were in the South and how everything has turned out with us mainly just playing the North teams. But I mean, it was really exciting to go into it, but I mean, Adam and Jeff, they warned us and they said how Brooks is going to be a big test for us. And I mean, obviously they showed it in the first game there. In the first kind of 30 minutes of the game, I thought we played pretty well and stuck with them or whatever and played kind of their style of game as well. And then the last kind of half of the game there, it just didn't really go our way. And, we just had some missed assignments in the defensive zone and a couple miscues or whatever. And that's kind of what lost us the game at the end of the day. But I mean, and then for yesterday's game, we bounced back actually really nicely and came out hard and, played them hard. And that's just kind of what you got to do against a really skilled team there. But I mean, obviously we didn't get the result we wanted, but overall it was a pretty good game. And I mean, boys worked really hard this weekend. So proud of everyone.
Was that sort of the messaging coming into game two, was a stronger start and maybe, just like you said, and that's certainly how we saw it. The first 35 minutes of the Friday game, you guys were going shot for shot with them. And then there was a timeout called. And really after that, a couple of 3-goal spurts in succession blew the scoreline way open, but you guys were skating with them right there. So, heading into Saturday's game, you must have figured you had a reasonable shot at a competitive game despite the previous scoreline, right?
Oh yeah, we knew that we could keep up with them. I mean, kind of in the first 5 minutes there, especially for all of us rookies, like in the first game, obviously it was just like, we kind of just need to get our feet under us and whatever, kind of feel what Brooks was going to be like. And, they've already made their plays before they even get the puck. So that's kind of the difference between them and other teams. And that's what sets them apart. But I mean, once we kind of figured out, okay, that we can play with them and whatever, that's kind of how we went with it. And, we just were confident in our abilities and we stuck with them the best we could. And yeah, I thought we played really well. So
when you look at a team that's got 16 NCAA Division I commits on it on paper, does that factor in at all? I don't imagine intimidation is a thing, but it's certainly a measuring stick and not an opportunity that you guys get very often to play a team like that.
Oh yeah, it kind of just shows what it takes. Obviously, those guys, yeah, they're going to the next level, and I mean that's where everybody in our room wants to go. So yeah, it shows what it takes and shows the work they put in and the skill they have. So just kind of shows us where we need to be. And yeah.
How do you think the group is gelling through such a bizarre spring season here? I know it's been disjointed and you guys had the bye week last week and we're going to play Camrose, and then on kind of a whim, you end up with 2 home games here and then 2 road games next weekend. But as far as just, controlling what you guys can on a day-to-day basis at practice and keeping the morale up, how are you guys doing with all that?
We're doing great. I mean, we've done a couple team builders or whatever, and like just in the room, we're a really tight team, and nobody's afraid to talk to anyone, and everybody just kind of relates in some way. And our leaders do a really good job with making sure that the room isn't divided. And yeah, like I think nobody feels left out from anything, and everybody's just having fun, and we're playing hockey in April, so what more can you ask for?
20 degrees on the way to the rink yesterday. That was a bit of an outlier, but we'll take it, right? I was chatting with Blake Sydlowski before this, and I had to ask him just with the flow of the Saturday game in terms of you guys having so much special teams action. What was your take on that? And I know you factored in with an assist on Raji's opening goal in the second period for you guys. What did you make of such a parade to the penalty box and getting, I guess, such an extensive workout, 5-on-4, 5-on-3, both ways?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's tough to stay in the game, but I mean, when you're sitting on the bench or you're on the ice and you're going back and forth or whatever between penalty, power play, I mean, different guys play in different situations, obviously. So it's tough sometimes when there's back-to-back penalties or back-to-back power plays. So you just kind of got to stay engaged and get up on the bench and cheer and stay engaged the best you can. And then when you get your chance, just make the most of it.
I know you guys aren't too far removed from minor hockey, so it's not like you're used to that real, energy provided by the crowd, but it is a weird atmosphere in there, man. And I'm thinking about you guys playing in a 3-3 hockey game with 5 minutes left, and it's just silent without the noise that you guys are making on the benches. What is that atmosphere like to play in this year?
I mean, obviously, I haven't played in a game against Brooks, but I've kind of heard about how the arena just kind of is like, well, it's essentially packed when the Crew play Brooks or whatever. But I mean, we just kind of got to make our own noise. And I mean, we'd love to have fans and we'd love to build off their energy, whether it be a goal, big hit, whatever. But we'd love to build off their energy, but we kind of just have to build off our own. And kind of their bench likes to be loud too. So we got to kind of almost be louder and get excited when our guys do something good versus when their guys. So.
Does the approach change for you on the road? I know at the NHL level, they talk often about simplifying the game, maybe a little more chip and chase kind of style. For you guys heading into another doubleheader set, but in their barn this upcoming weekend, does the approach change at all, or is you're going to go down there and play Crusaders hockey?
I think, just play Crusaders hockey. I mean, obviously this week in practice, there's a couple things we want to tighten up and fix, but for the most part, just I guess for the first game, just kind of, again, like I said, get our feet under us and we'll be getting off the bus or whatever. So just kind of keep it simple for the first 10 minutes there. And then, just play Crusaders hockey for the rest of the weekend and we'll be good.
And to wrap up, but you guys aren't necessarily playing for playoffs per se. I don't really think that we have a clear idea of what that situation is like. That's not really a barrier in you guys getting up and motivated to play these games at all. Is it you're still finding that, there's still plenty of energy to be found?
Oh, no, not at all. I mean, we kind of knew going into it that this season was going to be different. And I mean, obviously it showed that it has been very different, but no, I mean, we're lucky to play every day and we're just happy and we're going to play as long as we can. And whether there's playoffs or not, we're still excited to play games because that's what's fun about hockey. So
always appreciate chatting to you, Brenden. Good luck next weekend, man.
Thank you so much.
So all told, Brooks moves to 11-1 after these 2 weekend games at the Sherwood Park Arena. Sherwood Park falling to 6-7-1. And again, without really playoff implications this season, I'm not sure how invested the teams are in the standings versus just coming out and trying to really develop these young players and maybe move things along towards the start of a regular season next year. But nevertheless, the competition is still ripe and it will be next weekend, assuming COVID is on the back burner, assuming everybody behaves in that realm and no positive tests are identified. It should be a 7:00 puck drop from the Centennial Regional Arena on Friday, April 23rd. Nathan Crosby will have the call for you on Hockey TV, and then they'll do things over again on Saturday, the 24th, another 7 p.m. puck drop. We're not entirely sure when our next home broadcast will be. We'll certainly try and rotate my broadcast partner, Zach Marks, in through the next episode here of Coffee with the Crew and get a little more banter going than just me yammering away at you. I know. But appreciate you listening, and big thanks to, of course, Blake Sydlowski and Brenden McCartney for loaning me some time. Again, Crusaders and Bandits will run it back. Another doubleheader series upcoming this weekend. In the meantime, I'm Brenden Escott saying so long